Good.
Okay, Gold Derby fans, the 2018 SAG Award nominations were announced today. We're going to talk about the TV races right now, and there are a lot of surprises as usual, a few expected things. I'm here with Paul Sheehan, Daniel Montgomery, Chris Beachum. Um, Daniel, I'm just going to come to you first. What was your big takeaway? Because mine was Netflix. Netflix. They dominated 19 nominations, plus two on the film side for Mudbound.
Yeah, I think Netflix in general, like it didn't get too much that I wasn't expecting. Like The Crown did well, Orange is the New Black did well. They were nominated. Stranger Things also did well. I think the big surprise in the Netflix lineup, because SAG Awards are often a little bit slower to reward new shows, is Glow. Not only getting in for Alison Brie, but for the ensemble, for Mark Maron, even for stunt ensemble. So it's kind of remarkable how that show did, and I'm very encouraged because this was a show, like there's so many new shows come out every year, and this show came out over the summer, so there's been a long way for people to have potentially forgotten this show by the time Fall Awards came around, and it did well at the Golden Globes, it did well at Critics' Choice, it did well now, best of all, at SAG Awards, so very, very happy for Glow.
And so Daniel, because it is a new show, tell people what it's about and why you think it in its connection to one of the big winners at SAG recently.
Oh yeah, it's about GLOW is an acronym, stands for Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, which was a real life wrestling circuit that was aired on TV for a few years in the 1980s, and this is a fictionalized version of the making of GLOW, and it's got a big cast of female actors, which is the hallmark of Jenji Cohen, who's the executive producer of this, and also Orange is the New Black, which is nominated again. Jenji Cohen is having a good year, and I think SAG in general is so more hospitable, it seems, to female-driven projects. With Orange is the New Black, and we've seen multiple wins for Downton Abbey over the years. That in hindsight, I probably shouldn't be so surprised.
Yeah, if you're not predicting this to win, you're crazy, because this is going to win. This is the new Orange is the New Black. This is the new Hidden Figures. This is the show that SAG Awards love, and we've been noticing this trend in the past few years of these huge casts that have a bunch of unknown actors that they just really rally behind, like Stranger Things last year.
But so you're saying GLOW over Orange is the New Black, which is sort of what won 3 years in a row. And what's interesting about Orange is the New Black is, I guess, SAG, Chris, explain that, right? Because didn't Orange shift over to the drama side at the Emmys, but yet it keeps winning Comedy Ensemble Award at SAG. Why is that?
Well, they've kept it comedy everywhere but the Emmys. The Emmys are the only ones that force them to move.
And they've done well by staying in comedy at SAG, winning it 3 times in a row. So Marcus, you're saying GLOW could take it. What about Blackish? I mean, we keep thinking it's about to have its moment. Couldn't this be its year finally, Daniel?
I think its cast is relatively small, and this tends to be the biggest cast wins a lot of the times, and you could fit the cast of Blackish, which is a significant ensemble and a really great ensemble, but you could fit it into the cast of like Orange is the New Black about 8 times or something. Its size matters at the SAG Awards. I actually think the best chance for Blackish, it might actually get its due for Best Comedy Actor this year.
Okay. Right, and Tracy didn't make it in, which hurts its overall performance, I would say.
And what's so interesting, we talked just 2 days ago about the Globes, and we talked about Will and Grace at the Globes and how it's sort of cursed at the Globes and never won, and this year it's got a chance at Comedy Series and Eric McCormick. Now, I'm going to ask Marcus about what he makes of Sean Hayes being in the category male actor in a comedy series. Notice there's no word supporting or featured. So just talk about that, the idea that at SAG, films can have supporting performances, but on television, supporting performances aren't allowed.
Oh, you don't want to get me started on that.
I do.
It's so ridiculous that supporting people are given the same weight as leads. It did work out last year for John Lithgow, so it is possible for a supporting person to win in these races, but it's very, very difficult. That said, Sean Hayes is so good, and I can't believe the Globe snubbed him 2 days ago. I'm very happy to see him here, and this category actually has 6.
He's won at least a couple of times here.
Yeah, I think he's won 3.
Megan won 2 or 3 times.
He could easily win again. He may be my pick, actually, when I go down to make my picks. William H. Macy has won this 2 of the past 3 years, I believe.
So, but I think the point is that, so here's actors giving out awards to actors, and the idea that they're shortchanging people on television, the idea that they're not doing supporting in comedy, in drama, and in movie limited series. I mean, there's 6 more performers that could be given awards, and because of a time constraint, they're shoving them into the same category as leads, and just regardless of who wins, it's like, Chris, you remember in the old days of the Emmys, there were a couple of years there where they didn't have guest acting, and suddenly guest actors were contending against series regulars and winning, and it was sort of like, really, you get the Emmy for comedy, lead performance.
You show up 1 week and you win an Emmy, and this guy you're up against was there 22 weeks.
Yeah, so it's just it's frustrating for us. We love awards, and we love that there be more of these awards. But what I'm really delighted by is really the female actor in a comedy series lineup. To see both Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin in there, women of a certain age, and I know Jane Fonda has spoken very candidly about not being happy with her performance in the first season of Grace and Frankie, and actually getting an acting coach. 2-time Oscar winner got an acting coach because she was so unhappy with how she thought she'd done. So I'm just delighted for her that the actors have embraced her performance in season 3 and nominated her alongside Lily Tomlin.
It just occurred to me that specific category has 4 Netflix people in it. Though the non-Netflixer is Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who wins this often.
And again,
once.
We were talking about
twice, but last year she won.
So we were talking about the Globes not being nominated there. Now she's here, and her ensemble is, and one would have to believe that this is a more meaningful award for actors than the Golden Globe.
Oh yeah, definitely. This is the nominations were decided by a nominating committee of like 2,500 of their peers, and the winners will be decided by over 120,000 acting peers. So yeah, this is definitely much more of a remarkable career achievement to win a SAG award than to win over 90 some odd members of the Hollywood Foreign Press.
No,
we're still talking about comedy for a second. No Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, despite Titus and Ellie getting in last year, and Ellie got in 2 years actually. I'm very, very bummed about that.
That's Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix cannibalized itself.
SAG just needs to have the SAG Netflix Awards, SAG after Netflix, and so just to fit all of them in.
Well, do you think, but there are only 5 nominees. Do you think they're doing it with so much on television? And Marcus is so upset he's left. But do you think, Chris, that, there's so much on television, shouldn't they expand those categories to at least 6, if not 7, like the Emmys?
Well, especially when you look at them combining lead and supporting, yeah, they probably should go up to 6.
You've come back.
They're at the Shrine, so they've got a massive room there.
Yeah.
I wanted to also bring up on the comedy side, after 0 nominations at Critics' Choice and 0 nominations at the Golden Globes, last night I removed Curb Your Enthusiasm and Larry David out of my predictions, thinking, am I the only one that's enjoying this show? And then they get in like I thought for months that they would get in.
But what on the drama side? So what's your first thought, Marcus, as to what ensemble is going to win?
Wow, that's a really tough question. Are they going to copy the Emmys and do Handmaid's Tale? Are they finally? I guess it's only been on 2 years, but are they going to give it to This Is Us?
With SAG, you can normally bet good money on repeats. So yeah. When the prediction center goes up in a couple of hours, I'm probably going to put Stranger Things in first. And
listen,
they wearing us down with Orange. Why won't they wear us down with Stranger Things?
This year, Stranger Things was even more of an ensemble. So, I mean, look at some people like Noah, who his character was just completely fleshed out this year, and they had more characters with Paul Reiser and Sean Astin. So, yeah, I say you could be right. But
well, it never went to Game of Thrones. It's never won anything but stunts, not even for individuals. The Crown is down to 5 people. That's, as you just said, that they love big casts. Handmaids, Strangers, This Is Us are roughly the same size as each other. The thing about This Is Us to consider, maybe I'll put it first or second, when they were voting last year, they put Sterling in. He definitely got into individual, but the cast did not get in. I just don't think enough people had truly watched it and watched the cast gel together and become really as famous as they've become in the last year. That's one to not sleep on. That show's incredibly popular. People now know almost everybody that's listed on this cast list. So that one's not one to sleep on.
Yeah, and This Is Us is sort of the quintessential ensemble show. It's the kind of show that doesn't have like a single true lead, although Sterling K. Brown won the Emmy for lead, but it's very much divided among these family characters. And since this is its first nomination in this category, it doesn't have a track record here yet. And like Chris mentioned, the cast has gotten a lot more prominent. They've gelled. They've gotten more recognition. So yeah, I think it's that or Stranger Things potentially.
Now, do you think, because again we mentioned putting supporting and lead together, the fact that Elizabeth Moss is the only nominee from Handmaid's Tale, does that hurt it for the win? I mean, if we kind of think, well, she's probably a very strong contender in the individual race, does it hurt it for the ensemble win? And I'm wondering, it's interesting. I wonder if it hadn't been for House of Cards imploding. I mean, Robin Wright is nominated here. She got nominated at the Globes. I mean, is that kind of a bit of a hug to say, oh gosh, what you've had to put up with unbeknownst to us? And then also I see Laura Linney from Ozark. I mean, they seem to be probably the ones most likely to have kept more Handmaid's Tale women from competing.
Yeah, I think it's tough because that's such a Elizabeth Moss's show, and there are so many supporting women on the show that having only the one category, it would have really been a struggle to kind of single any one of them out, like an Ann Dowd or Samira Wiley. Who do you pick as your second Handmaid's Tale nominee in that category? Which is where having.
Well, let me say one thing before we get too much deeper into it. Somebody in our forums last night, and it was too late for me on the prediction center. I didn't want to upset people's predictions, and I couldn't vet this information. Said that they had a SAG ballot. They were a SAG voter. Said that the only 2 people from Handmaids listed on the ballot under female were Elizabeth Moss and Yvonne Straczynski. Ann Dowd, Samira Wiley. Probably a strategic move to not cannibalize each other. But Ann Dowd, who you thought would have gotten in as the second, was not even on the ballot, supposedly. I didn't see that.
That's really interesting.
And it goes to...
So I don't know that we can hold it against Handmaids for not getting that second person in. They weren't probably going to get any men in on the actor side.
And then again, it goes to the fact that, I mean, there are 6 male actors in a comedy series nominee, but otherwise it's 5 nominees. Again, SAG, come on, have more nominees. So if we're thinking, I mean, who do we think among those nominees could beat Elizabeth Moss for the individual award?
I will say Elizabeth Moss has never won an individual SAG award before. She has 2 for Mad Men for the ensemble, but she never won for that show. She didn't win for Top of the Lake. So my money's on her, but I know you love Claire Foy, and she just won last year, so they love repeat winners. Look at Robin Wright, who's getting all of this new acclaim now because of things that happened on her set. Any of those 3. Millie Bobby Brown could win. I don't know. I'm just going to stick with my first thought and just say Elizabeth Moss.
Daniel?
Yeah, I think it's Elizabeth Moss. Claire Foy is probably her closest contender. Stranger Things, they love it so much that Millie Bobby Brown could win, and she was nominated against Winona Ryder last year, so maybe they split votes against each other in the individual category. Now Winona Ryder is not in here, so she's the only game in town if you want to vote for Stranger Things, and Laura Linney is beloved in the industry. And Robin Wright, of course, is getting all this attention. I really do think you can't count any single one person out of this race. But yeah, I got to say that's probably Elizabeth Moss.
And do they tend to, I mean, is it sort of one of these things we were talking about at the Globes, how an individual acting winner will kind of sometimes signal that the series wins? So, is it one of these things like if Sterling K. Brown wins for This Is Us, that maybe we'll be thinking, oh, it's got a shot, like as opposed to, say, Jason Bateman winning for Ozark, where his show isn't nominated for ensemble.
And remember what they did last year? They gave it to Claire Foy and John Lithgow, and then they split it. They split the ensemble to go to Stranger Things. So maybe they'll do that this year. Maybe Elizabeth gets her individual trophy for female actress, but Stranger Things maybe wins again, or This Is Us. Maybe they won't give her 2 for winning also for Handmaid's Tale ensemble.
Well, it's interesting. And then over on the mini TV movie, so basically if you weren't in Feud or Big Little Lies and you were a woman in a TV movie or limited series, well, you can be watching the show. I mean, isn't that extraordinary? So, is it that the 2 leads from Feud and then also the 2 leads from Big Little Lies plus Laura Dern. Again, having no supporting category. Putting you on the spot, Daniel, who do you think wins?
I think Nicole probably. Given the success of Big Little Lies. Some people just get on that run where they'll just take the trifecta of Emmy, Golden Globe, and SAG. We talked about Golden Globes where Jessica Biel might actually win that one. So. I think even though there are 3 of them and they could split votes, I mean, so could the Feud women. So I don't think that's going to be that big of a problem.
Chris? Didn't you have an observation about Nicole Kidman and SAG? Wasn't there?
Never has won a SAG award.
Either ensemble or
individually. She's had. I'd have to look at the exact number. Roughly 9 or 10. She's in the Denzel situation from. We've had 2 in a row that have rectified themselves. Denzel last year had never won a SAG award. How many articles did we write about that? Maybe we had some influence. The year before, Leo DiCaprio had never won a SAG award, ensemble or individual, and we were writing tons of articles about that. So I guess you're about to see a weekly article about how Nicole has never won a SAG award.
This is her 10th, counting individual and ensemble. Okay. 10th. Lucky number 10.
That's the logical choice to me there. I don't know what to do on. It feels like to me the way Big Little Lies swept through the Emmys and they don't have an ensemble category here. Maybe they'll go Skarsgård here, but from a career standpoint, he's the least respected of the 5. You've got 2 Oscar winners, an Oscar nominee, and a Tony, an Emmy winner with Jeff Daniels. So, of course, Skarsgård's an Emmy winner now too.
I think I've got to go with Robert De Niro probably in that one. The SAG Awards feel very much more the kind of starstruck. You have Helen Mirren winning for Phil Spector and Bryan Cranston winning for All the Way. The people who we know they like, and who has the stature. And
isn't it interesting, and what you just said, Chris, how they don't have an ensemble award? So they're yet again denying the other men of Big Little Lies, or the men of Feud.
All the women, yeah. I don't understand that, because you're gonna already have some of those. You're gonna have to have spots, maybe tables for Big Little Lies and Feud. I don't know why they wouldn't have an ensemble. Really, when the show started 20-something years ago, it was on NBC, and the first 3 or 4 years. And I'm sure they only had the 2-hour slot, and they've never upped their number of categories. But being on TNT and TBS, it seems like they could probably easily go to them and say, let's do 3 hours. And that way that would accommodate more categories.
Right, because on these basic cable networks, I mean, they run it, say, starting at 5 p.m. Pacific time, and it goes till 7:05 or 7:10, and then they immediately replay.
They don't have to worry. I mean, some of these shows, the Oscars are the only show that do not have a contractual obligation to end on time of the live award shows. Talking about Emmys, Tonys, Golden Globes, even the ones that are on the broadcast networks. The reason they have an obligation is that the local affiliates demand it because they want their news to start on time. Their news is their biggest moneymaker of the entire day. So the only award show that's ever been able to get out of that is the Oscars, which can go anywhere from 3.5 to 4 hours. But anyway, SAG does, once they moved 20 years ago to the TNT TBS combination, I don't understand why they didn't, to help their own guild, with more nominations, more people recognized. Why wouldn't you ask for a 3-hour slot?
Yeah. And then this year they've decided that even though they're not going to add more categories, but they've added a host for the very first time, Kristen Bell, who I'm sure will be delightful.
Which will take time.
Yeah, but I cannot imagine she's taken the gig just to read introductions like the announcers. I expect there'll be something. But we talked about film and now we talked about TV. But really, what matters isn't what we think; it's what everyone watching this thinks and what their predictions are, because they will inevitably do better than us, much to our chagrin. So. Well, this has been fun, and we'll have to reconnect once we figure out who's in it, Critics' Choice, Globe, and SAG, and where that puts them in the Oscar race. So we'll have lots more to talk about, don't you think, in the weeks to come?